Welcome to the third episode of our podcast, Chocolate and Spice to Brown Women Talk. Hi, I'm Neha, the older, quieter sister.
Hey, I'm Nidhi, the younger and the chattier one. And today's topic is a little sensitive. We are going to be talking about bullying in adults.
Bullying can take so many forms. As women of color and moms, we feel it everywhere. Sometimes it makes us angry, and sometimes it makes us sad. So, we're calling this episode Handling Bullying. Do you get angry or sad?
And in this episode, we'll talk about how we learn to handle it or not handle it. And all of those early patterns of reacting with anger, sadness, silence, or defiance show up even today. So the let's talk about it. What is your earliest memory of getting bullied or seeing anybody get bullied?
I've been a very quiet child. I was always a very quiet child, and I'm pretty sure I may have faced bullying very early in my life. But the earliest I can remember very clearly is from my middle school years. I may have been like 11 or 12. And at that time, I had suffered through two consecutive stretches of typhoid fever, which is a pretty dangerous type of fever. And I'd gone really weak and my hair had started thinning. And so mommy suggested that, I get my hair shaved because at that time the idea was like, the new hair that's going to come out is going to be thicker and more even and grow out more evenly. Surprisingly, I did not seem to have objected to the idea, maybe because I didn't know what was to follow, or maybe I was not that vain. But after I got my hair shaved, there was a lot of bullying. I do want to clarify that this is not a sob story by any stretch. And perhaps one of the reasons I remember this is because I did not take any bullying lying down. I remember it used to be when it used to get cold, I used to wear a scarf on my head because, with no hair, you'd get colder. And I remember there were kids who would pull that scarf and they'd tease me and say, like, oh, show us what's inside and things like that. And I still remember me turning back and, very defiantly saying, like, stop pulling my scarf, or I'm going to do this and this. I think I used to say, I'll go to your mom or I'll go to your teacher. And so even though like a lot of the neighborhood kids or classmates or just like even like random kids would make fun of me, I never got bullied. And I think that was in a way good for me, that situation, because it made me stronger and it made me realize that I don't care about how meanly somebody thought about my looks, and I refuse to feel bad about the situation. It's a weird story to tell, but it's a story which made me truly understand how to stand up to bullies and really be fearless about it.
At that time, you were also very young, and to stand up for kids who are older than you takes a special kind of courage. So I'm so glad you stood up for yourself and you did what you had to do.
Totally.
Yeah. So
Exactly. The point you said is also so true, because I remember some of the older kids used to do that to me. And I do not know where I got that courage from at that point. Maybe because, like, maybe mommy told me, like, don't worry. Or maybe I was just very sure that, this is something I need for my body and nobody will make me feel bad about it. And, like, I feel like that's where I started growing some backbone as I grew older. So, yeah, I'm grateful for that situation one way or the other.
yeah, for me, I don't have any recollection of getting bullied. I'm pretty sure there were girls. We both were in girls only school, so there were girls who were aggressive and very boisterous, and they might have said something, but none of that really impacted me. The fact that I don't remember anything means it was not really something that had a negative effect on me. But I do remember an incident where I could have been somebody who was aggressive. So I don't think I was ever a bully as such, but I was a very, very overconfident kid. And I always got things the way I liked. I was teacher's pet, so I could always, had my way of getting things. So I'll give you an example. We were in fourth standard or fourth grade. I was 9 or 10 years old, and there was a queue to get to the teacher to show our artwork. And I finished my artwork. I got up and I just cut the line and went in front and showed my artwork to the teacher. And all the other girls just quietly stood there, not saying a word. Maybe because that's what I always did. I don't remember, but I just remember one thing where Miss Darlene, who was our English teacher, she called me out. And she said, Nidhi, what you did was so arrogant. All of these girls are waiting patiently in the line. What gave you the right to cut the line and come to me and show me your artwork? Like, why do you think that is all right? That is very unkind and very rude of you to do that. And I think that was the first time, I was so young, but that was the first time when somebody I respected called me out. And that had a very deep impact on me because that was the first time I understood what I did was not right. What I did was wrong. So, I mean, the moral of the story is that the fact that somebody called me out, I understood that that was not the right thing to do. So, I hope people call others out when they see something is not right.
Yeah, no, that is such a great point. Helping others if you feel they are getting bullied and you can help them in a situation, that's so important. I do remember, I mean, I don't think you were a bully or anything, but I think you were always, very vocal about what you wanted, and you were never afraid to ask for it. And I even, as an older sister, you would do the same to me. If you wanted something, it didn't matter to you that I'm older, or maybe like, let's listen to her. You would always make sure you demanded for it, which in a way, serves you well as you grow, because you know to be able to speak up and use your voice. By the way, do you think sibling bullying is a thing? I Do you think we ever had any such situations?
I hope not. Sibling rivalry is certainly a thing because it involves jealousy, attention for parents. But I don't think I don't think we ever had it. But yeah, we had our own share of fights, occasional fights. What do you think?
Totally,
I
totally. Yeah.
hope you agree with me, but yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, I really hope sibling bullying is not a thing also, but I really don't know, don't have enough information about it. But for us, like what I can say is I never felt bullied by you, nor did I ever attempt to bully you in any way. If I ever felt like you were crossing the line, like you were a little rude, that you shouldn't have been to other folks or to me, I would take action. So I would like call you out right then, or I would talk to mommy about it if you weren't listening to me. But I don't think either of us ever truly bullied the way the bullying is defined.
How do you tell bullying from possible hard feedback? Like how do you know there is a difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. So before this podcast, I did a little bit of research into the term bullying to make sure, we're not conflating that with teasing or what could be called constructive feedback, right? So based on definitions from various sources such as CDC, which is Center for Disease Control, Psychology Today, and more, bullying is when a person or group verbally, socially, or physically harms someone repeatedly. And this is typically marked by a difference in power, meaning the victim is weaker, younger, or seen as weaker in the situation. So there is absolutely a distinction between malicious intent to hurt or harm someone versus giving feedback, however harsh that might be. I was thinking about examples of how this would actually apply. So especially as adults, there could be situations where, let's say, you meet someone and this one person has, for whatever reason, an agenda against you. I don't know. I'm just making up the situation, by the way. And so maybe you meet this person. Every time you meet this person, they're going to be like, hey, you look so dull. And they say out in public, say all of this out in public, and or they'll say, hey, you are so slow today, or you didn't dress up well, or you're looking so weak, right? So basically, maybe you already are not feeling great and they're trying to make you feel worse every single time, and they potentially already also know that they're hurting you. So they're really not helping you in any way. They're really making you feel smaller, and this is not going to help. A constructive feedback would have been if they had said, and only if they had that kind of trust with you, right? Only if they had bonded with you that way. Maybe they had said something like, hope you're not overworked. It can be so easy to lose weight and get weak, when you're not taking care of yourself. Let me know if I can help in any way. And that's a different spin to it, because you're really empathizing with the person. You're not making them feel worse. You're truly making them feel seen and heard. And then you're offering some sort of kind of feedback. So, in my opinion, like there are two different things. And if a bully comes to you and says, oh, I was only trying to help you, well, that's not true. They were clearly not trying to help you. So I think it's important going forward, no matter what situation in life we are. I think we may face criticism and bullying and teasing, all sorts of things, and it's good to distinguish and then take the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think constructive criticism comes from a good place, whereas bullying comes from a place where people know what exactly what they're doing, and these bullies prey on weak or the people who cannot stand up for themselves. So uh, like our mom, she has a feedback for both of us most of the time, but that comes from a good place. Like, we trust her. For example, this morning I was talking to her and she said, "Oh, your hair looks so dull." And I haven't washed my hair in like 10 days. I've worked out every day. So obviously it doesn't look great. But then she did add, it's like, "Oh, you will have break, like the hair will start breaking if you don't put serum." So it came from a good place. Her concern was that if you don't take care of it, it might damage your hair. So that was constructive criticism.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing with bullying, right? Like I have often wondered why bullies bully.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to mention that I know I have been on the receiving end of bullying much of my childhood because I was a very quiet kid, and typically quiet kids face this more because they would typically not lash out. And having analyzed it across several angles, my conclusion is that they do it due to several unfortunate situations from their angle. When, especially as a teenager, I used to think, if I'm getting bullied, it must be my fault, right? Like that's such a horrible thing to say. And that's like intrinsically blaming yourself for something that is absolutely out of your control, because the control is on the other side, the person who's bullying you. And the person who's bullying you might be doing it due to many different reasons. Bullies can come from two angles. One category of bullies could be those who truly don't understand that their word has impact, or that their actions create negative cycles. And so they go ahead, keep talking about it, go ahead, like really criticizing over and over again and very meanly. And these kind of bullies make me really sad, because how do you make somebody empathize? How do you make somebody care? Right? Like it's a very, very tough situation. Worse is there might be bullies who really know what they're doing, who understand their power, and who are using their power to really degrade somebody, right? And these are the bullies who make me really angry. I have a hard time controlling my impulse to lash out to these bullies, because having reached the maturity that you and I both have, of course we can tell who's who, right? Who's behaving at you in a certain way for what reason. And then now we all know how we could have a counter to that. But what is the right thing to do in this case? Like, would you counter? Would you step back? And so, my question to you is, what advice would you give to your younger self, or even to your current self, when you were in such as when you are getting bullied? What would you do?
I mean, at this point, at this stage of my life, I know that I have to speak up or have a thick skin, because there's this very hard to change the mentality of pure bullies who are doing it for specific reasons. All you can do is stand up for yourself. But I don't think there's anything I could have said to my younger self to not do the damage. It comes with age, it comes with experience. Like all the maturity that I have right now, there's nothing I could have said to my 21-year-old to say, "Hey, don't let these things impact you," because those are hard words. Like when somebody says something about your appearance or the way you look or the way you feel, or tell you to feel a certain way, all of those things are very unkind. So all I can say is, you cannot unhear those unkind words, but you can control your reaction, and you can control what you have to do. For example, I recently read the book Untamed by Glenn Doyle, and she
Mm.
has a beautiful saying that connected with me. And she said that, imagine you, your family, your loved one live in an island, and anybody who is unkind to everybody you love and you, and have are behave poorly with you, they don't have access to your island. You don't let them in the water, because you control that access. And that has been my motto in life recently, is like, all right, I have no space for negativity in my life. If you say something bad, I am so sure I'm going to cut you off. And I do that. And I've done that with few people. So it's what I can control. I cannot control others. I can control myself, my behavior. And that is what I do.
So
Yeah.
beautiful. I love, how beautiful you phrased it about the whole island thing. And I was going to say the exact same thing, which is like, if I could give any advice to my younger self, and also I keep advising myself currently, there are two things. One is, don't don't like internalize it. I know it's very hard, and words are super powerful. That's why we have to be so careful. once you hear it, it's you cannot unhear it, but you can work on yourself enough to know that you filter certain things out.
Hmm.
So don't internalize it. And then the second thing is very importantly, once you recognize negativity, avoid it. Really, the only sensible thing you can do in a situation beyond like out and out fighting is avoid that person or avoid that situation and keep toxicity out of your life. And I do the exact same thing like you. I mean, I'm a quiet person anyway. I don't have a huge social group anyway. But if I sense somebody who is going to be negative to me and who's not supportive or constructively, supportive, I'm not going to have them around my life. I
Yeah.
do wonder, bullying typically has been associated with, childhood and childhood trauma, which is, of course, very, very true because mostly bullying happens in schools. But have you been bullied as an adult or anytime recently?
There's one incident that I would like to share. When I was maybe 24 or 25, I was in Pittsburgh getting my MBA, and I was in a bus. The bus was very crowded. And there was a person who was, I don't think he was in a good mental state, or he was high. I don't know whatever it was. But a lot of us were standing, and he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing?" And I had never seen that man before. It's like, "What are you doing? Why are you standing? What are you doing in this bus?" And then he said, "Go back to your country." Okay. So he said it, and I froze. I didn't know what I didn't know what to do. And everybody in the bus knew that he was not in a good mental state. But I'm pretty sure I looked terrified. I couldn't utter a word. But there was a female in the bus who was maybe a few years older to me, and she stood up for me and she told, "Hey, old man, why are you saying these unkind things to her? What has she ever done to you? If you cannot stop talking, we'll make sure you get out of the bus." And the driver supported her. So that was such a beautiful moment in my life, because somebody I did not know, that female, I did not know her, I did not meet her again in my life, but she stood up for me, and she said something so kind, and she made sure I felt safe, because she clearly saw I was terrified. So I think that's the only time I remember in my adulthood that had an impact, and that is why I want to pay it forward. I don't think I did a good job when I was younger, standing up for anybody I saw getting picked on. I supported my close friends. Like when I saw somebody being unkind to you, I spoke up for you. I spoke up for my close friends. But I did see other girls or other young kids being in a bad spot, but I did nothing. So now I know how important it is to stand up for somebody who is not able to speak up for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah,
What about
no.
you?
There was one situation that I have not a very clear recollection of, but I still remember something of it because I was with my son, and I don't think I reacted the way I should have, especially as a role model for my son. And I think we were in some sort of a cafe, and I was gonna ask like ask for some dessert or some pastry or something, and I was having a hard time choosing. I don't remember what it was. See, I'm blaming myself already. But anyway, the person at the counter like was so mean to me. He was like, look at these people, they cannot even make a decision. And look at like he was his face showed he's completely disrespectful of me. Like to me it appeared as if I'm this really small girl who can be bullied, and so he has made it his like mission in that current moment. And I was not alone in that cafe. The cafe was crowded, so there were a lot of people behind me in the line who were listening to all of this, and my son was with me. And I somehow froze, just like you said. I froze because people are usually not that mean in a crowded place like that, right? Especially to strangers. And he was trying to sell me something, and on top of that, he was trying to be mean. But for whatever reason, I did not respond in in negatively. I ended up just like quietly buying whatever I was going to buy and moved away. And I still remember this thing when we were in the car going back. My son asked me, "Hey, mom, why didn't you say something?" That man was, and because I shut down, I didn't even tell my husband about it. And he brought it up and he's like, why didn't you say something? You could have said a lot of things to that man. And I didn't have a good answer.
Oh,
So it's very interesting, right? Like in spite of all,
kids watch and learn, right? I
yeah,
mean, that had probably had an impact on him too, right?
I bet it did. And I was so sorry for that situation that I did not find the right words. And there could have been, because after that, of course, I created that situation in my mind so many times. And I was like, this is what I could have said. But I did not when it was the real time of action. And so for me, it's also a matter of, how do we help our kids learn about it? What do we teach our kids? Because I know, Vikram, your son is 6 years old, like prime age, where he really needs to learn about neither getting bullied nor bully somebody. And my son, of course, is in college. And I can just start by saying that for me, the thing that I have tried to do is help him understand that it is not good to be a bully and it is not good to be bullied. But like I mentioned from my own example, clearly I was not a great role model, but I've
Boy,
always tried.
say, see what you're doing right now. You are a great role model. You have been to me. You are to your son. You are to Vikram. You are a great model. And there are instances in our life where, in your case, maybe you didn't speak up. In my case, there are moments when I am not able to control my anger, and maybe I am the one raising my voice and being unkind. So what I mean is, like, we do the best we can, and you are a great role model. Look how beautiful your son has turned out, such a great human being. So you have a bigger role to play. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so. And the same thing, like every child goes through different phases in their life and they live their own life. They're not living our lives. And that's the most important thing that I try to remember, particularly for us as immigrant moms.
Mhm.
We've had a very different cultural upbringing, very different country, at very different times. And our sons are living in a country that for us is still kind of still newer. I mostly just, try to listen to him, guide him as much as I can based on my own understanding, but very importantly, listen to him.
Mhm.
And the other thing I think that's been very helpful is, even though, we are in this country and most of our relatives are in India, we did ensure we create bonds. So, his grandparents meet him pretty often, his other extended family meet him often, you meet him often. And so he sees what it is to love and care
Mhm.
and be considerate and thoughtful of others. So I'm really hoping all of that shape him into a kind, caring, affectionate human being.
Yeah, and he is. He is a beautiful human being, and he's kind. He's always been very thoughtful. Like, one instant is, I'll tell you about him. I don't even know if you know this. So there was one time I was babysitting him, and he was, I don't know, 10 years old, 10 or 11 years old, and there was an apartment party in Cupertino, and there was like a face artist person. I was obviously a grown woman, and every kid was going and getting the face painted. And I told Aryan, I don't know if I should go and get my face painted. I want it so much, so bad, but I'm a grown woman and they're all kids. And he was like, how do you care? You want to get your face painted? That person is there to paint your face. Just go and get your face painted. Why do you have to think about it so much? You want it. That person is sitting there waiting for somebody to come. So go get your face. I don't know if you remember that I got a little whatever
Yeah.
butterfly, and then I took so many pictures. I was so happy.
No, I love that self-assuredness. But how are you handling Vikram's? I'm not sure, like if he's in that situation.
Yeah, he's 6, so his situation is different than middle schoolers and high schoolers.
Right.
But there are kids who are more dominating or more aggressive, even at this age, because he does come back home and say, "This kid pushed me in park," or "This kid was rude to me." This kid said he doesn't want to play with me, or "This kid took away my bike." And there's nothing I can do sitting here at home, right? He has to learn to speak up for himself, and that's what I teach him and what I tell him is, if somebody is hitting you, you have to go tell the teacher. If somebody is trying to harm you, you have to go tell the teacher. But if somebody is being mean to you, rude to you, and if they say something you don't like or don't agree with, speak up. Don't come and tell me that this person was rude to me. You have to tell that person and tell that person that, hey, uh, whatever your name is, don't be rude to me. I didn't like it. Don't be kind. Don't be unkind to me, and walk away. If they're still being unkind, walk away and do something else. But you have to express yourself. And I think that will even help bullies or people who don't know what they're doing. They will know that this person didn't like, because at this young age they are still trying to comprehend their emotions. So at least that's what I teach him, and it has been working just fine. I think he's doing great. But I'll give you an example. We were in park last week and there was like a rock climbing thing where kids were climbing on, and Vikram climbed on the top. It was like a 7 feet rock, and then an older kid came and he was a little aggressive and he started pushing Vikram down because he wanted to clear the path and go on the other side. And if he would have pushed Vikram, he would have broken a bone because he would have fallen from a really real high height. So I had to speak up, and Vikram got really scared because he was already on a very high rock. So I spoke up and said, "Don't do that, please. Let him come down, and then you will have your turn." And then he listened to me. At least that older kid listened to me, and I made sure Vikram gets down safely. And then the mom of the kid came in and she told the kid, she probably knew he does this because she said, "Hey, what did I tell you? Give other kids space." But like, these are the things you have to tell them that this is not right, and set an example for my kid that you have to speak up and set an example, or at least tell the older kid that what you were doing was not right. So I might have been unpopular in the park where I kind of speak up where my kid is not able to, but what choice do I have at that time?
Absolutely. No.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we're not, like you said, if you're not going to speak up, who is, right? Kids are always watching, like the example you gave of your primary school teacher,
Mhm.
because she told you about it, you still clearly remember. And that must have been how many years back? And that reminded me, like, there are different ways in which you can speak up. I still remember the way I would help if I saw somebody bullying is not necessarily to speak up, because again,
Mhm.
the my quietness and my introversion rears up. But I remember being their support. I still remember, and I won't go into details. There were a few kids in my class and very early in life, and I could see they were getting bullied, and they were very new, and they had something going on in their lives. But I don't know. I still remember going to them and trying to help them, whether it was in their homework or just like me being the only person who would sit with them or talk to them. And I think like that, those are the other ways where you see somebody bully. Maybe the situation is such that it's not safe for you to go fight for them or
Yeah.
speak out too loud, but maybe you can offer them support in other ways. It's really think back to how we create positivity out of it. And I know it can be hard in the moment, but time heals, right? Like time heals. And if you analyze it carefully enough, then you realize that you can actually step out of that bubble or that bitterness bubble. Because ultimately, if you let that bitterness influence you, nobody gets hurt but you. So the
Yeah.
best, like in my opinion, the best way is to find peace with positive self-talk and listen to positive podcasts like ours.
If we say so ourselves.
Why not? Why not? We try to be positive. And then of course meet people who are, great for you and for your mental health and overall.
Yeah, build a community, right? So that is helpful. And the last thing I'll mention is, since our podcast is online and my Instagram is online, your Instagram is
Oh.
online, it's like the online community can be kinder too. Like, I've spoken about sometimes where even the first episode that we launched, I got a comment from a random person. "Oh, your voice is so intimidating. No wonder you never spoke before on your stories, Instagram stories or posts." And I'm like, and for a moment, I was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with my voice? How do I sound like this?" But it's like that person made a fake account and commented like this to bring me down. And again, it goes back to, you cannot unhear these unkind things, but like, you have to be strong enough to know that that is not true. You have to be secure in yourself. You have to speak up. Obviously, I'm not going to interact with online bullies. I just block them and remove them. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what we can do. And I'm so glad we talked about it and how we can control our behavior, how we can pay it forward, help others. And that is what this episode was all about.
100%. And like you said, you don't want to accept bad behavior. And online bullying, I know it's a topic in itself. And I'm
Yeah.
sure with your pretty popular Instagram account, you get your fair share of online bullying, which is just so sad, especially with kids these days, right? They're getting exposed to social media so much younger in life, and they have their own accounts. And who knows how they are strengthening their inner self and they face these kind of harassment or bullying. But I'm glad like we talked about it. And thank you everybody for listening. Nidhi's gonna give her plug. She has a long plug.
Yeah, if you enjoy this, if you enjoy this episode, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast from. And if you would like us to talk about a few topics that's close to your heart, please leave us a feedback and let us know. And thank you for spending time with us. We
Yeah,
appreciate
and
you.
exactly. And the plug that I'll give is we're working on our website, and that's going to have all of our podcast links, but also a lot more content soon. So, yeah, thank you everybody for listening again, and see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.